TV. Today's Thursday, and we're going to talk about design. And we are at episode 5. So for me, it is well. Actually, it's a dream come true because I've been wanting to do this forever, and I never took the time to do it. And now here it is. And the fifth week that I've been doing it, it's pretty amazing. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is that how did I scale my firm, and when I was part of different teams or when I was director of different schools, how did I build up the team, and what was my successful action, and how did I do that? And today this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about hiring people versus building your team. And 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 for me, uh, as a lighting designer, or as an interior designer, an architect, or electrician, it doesn't matter. It's how you scale without breaking your company, because it is very easy to go up and put the problem and say, oh, we need to hire more people. That's the first response that everybody is gonna say. But in reality, the real problem is the structure. It's not really that we need more people. Um, is that if you have a good structure, and 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 you choose people the right way, and you coach them and you hat them, um, you won't have to hire people fast, uh, and your system will absorb the progression and the expansion, because everybody knows what they have to do. When they don't, this is where chaos comes in, and then the 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 general solution is, well, let's hire more people. Let's hire somebody to do that. Of course, if you hire somebody and you don't coach them, what's happening? Well, it becomes like a major structural problem. So what did I experience when my firm grew? Well, I had more project. Deadline were compressing, because in a week I could probably had to do 3 4 presentation. My clients were demanding more and more because they knew that we could deliver, so they were asking, and sometimes on all those lines there would be some breakups. You know, um, these time we had faxes, we had voicemail, we had little messaging system. You come after a meeting at 7, and the receptionist didn't have time to put all the message in your box, in your inbox. Well, you may have to do it the next day, but that call was a very important call, and you had to do it on the West Coast, and blah blah blah. So the situation was getting more and more complex, and the problems were getting bigger and bigger. So of course, the first reflex is, well, we need to hire more people. And what happened when you hire more people? Well, it's very simple to understand. You are becoming more inconsistent, because first of all, you there there's no way you have time to take somebody and bring them up to speed on a project that's already going vertical. It's very, very, very hard. Then you have just the ecosystem of the firm, all the miscommunication. Well, I said this. Well, I thought it was that, and then and this and that, and then people start pointing fingers, right? The other thing is that you you may have or may not have given the proper frame to an employee, and they spend 20 billable hours on designing something, and then you look at it and you said, holy moly, we're we got to redo this, right? So now you have to take your time, or another executive or a senior, and then redesign this cycle. So so something you thought that was done now is not done, which add more time, which add, you know, loss of production, which add more cost, and at the end, your margin that were, you know, okay, now they become very, very tight, because you multiply this by one, two, three projects, you start to, you know. So the real question is that, does adding people fix unclear thinking? No. Like, there's no way. If you don't have a clear way to communicate and 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 disseminate and prepare your employees to the post that they have to do, well, guess what? They won't be as efficient as they could be. Now, when I look at the market today, every day I love this, because on LinkedIn I get all kinds of I get calls, I get emails, I get invitation, I get you know all kinds of communication about the market, and I get senior lighting designer offer, I get lighting specialists, I got control specialists, control expert. So the market is growing. So what's the signal that we take that out of this is that, because it's growing, it comes with all the pressure that there is to it. So basically, whatever I had as I experiment in my life, it's happening right now. There's a lot of pressure because projects have to be delivered, deadline has to be done, specification, teams have to be organized, and people, their first move is that, oh, let's hire people. While the real question is, how's your internal clarity going? How is it going within your firm? How is everybody doing what they're supposed to do? And you'll see that this is where it happens. Having the right people doing the right thing will give you a flawless line of production, and you'll be able to add more production, and without having all this panic and this how could I say, this distraction. All of this is done, and I had a training a couple months ago on speed of particle, and this was kind of you know music to my ear, because people are moving very fast nowadays. They move between firms, they move as a freelancer, they move with agency, they move with contracts, they move everywhere. And so there's not a lack of talent, and talent is moving way faster than the structure can stabilize. Meaning that if when you come into to an ecosystem, or you're coming to a company, people are, by the time they should have been productive, by the time they should have been productive, now they realize, well, you know what, I got another offer, I'm going to go somewhere else. And sometimes it's not about the money. It's about, they don't feel they're welcome. It's unorganized. It's a bit of chaos. It's funny because my wife does lots of hiring, and we talk a lot about that, and a lot of people consult her because they want to change job and this and that. And what I'm hearing is that people want to change job not because of the money, because there's no structure. And I realized that in our industry and in lighting design, it was the same thing for me. I change company, or I would stop working with a certain client, and I even reimburse some client because the way that they were structured, like being run, 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 rush, 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 and having these tantrums and all of this. So there is a lot that can be said on how do we going to teach the talent this full ecosystem, and uh, have I would say stable landscape so that they can grow and you know move and evolve with the company. Now, of course, we there's you can be a stable full-time staff, and that's the ideal. They have stability, they know the culture, they're there for the long-term growth, and you know it is something that is very attracting. Now, on our ends, that means that, okay, now I got a fixed cost, I got a ramp up time, and one of the biggest risks that I think is that, what is what if this person doesn't uh, doesn't fit with our company? What is the you know what if I mishire? And it happens. So again, full time, this is kind of the landscape for the full time. Now, part time is also has its pros and cons, because yes, you have the flexibility. Yes, it costs less because you'll be, if you need them for 20 hours, you pay them for 20 hours. But the flip side of that is that you also have people that have very limited ownership, and between their job, you also have the fragmented attention. So you'll have part of their attention that are on their phone, and they're thinking about something else, or during lunch they're rushing out and they go do something else. So that also is very distracting, and also it's very hard to build a company culture around that. um, as I was telling you, I get approached by a lot of agency, and agency, I think, have a place in human resource, but honestly, yeah, honestly, I never get it, because why would I pay somebody and repeat my salad when I can talk directly to the person that I need to talk to? But I also get that the person that I need to talk to may not be organized, and then he thinks that hiring this company, will save him time. So of course, it's a very fast process, because you have a headhunter calls you, Robert, I like what you're doing, and they have access to 25 different companies, and I can give you. First of all, they want you as a client, so you gotta start doing it, dealing with them, and then they take you around, and then they have specialists in lighting, they have specialists in control, they have specialists in manufacturing. Um, it's all nice, but there's no integration, right? They're not in the company. They know about the company, but they're not in the company. And the other thing that I find very limiting is that they don't have any ownership on any project or anybody. They're very their goal is to you know grab you and post you, and so be it, and hope that you're going to stay there so that they don't have to go to that process again. So for me, as a designer, I found I never had much success with different agency, but some people do. Um, I think one of my favorite way is that I used to love, because and I still love, because I reach out often to people and do I work as a freelancer and collaboration. And when I arrived here in St. Pete, I met. I was not allowed to work, and I started to collaborating with different artists and on different art pieces. And then I started to work and learn about the community and learn about the people. Then later I got my card, and we started to doing collaboration on big lighting piece and on glass and all kinds of stuff. That was for me the most um, awakening part as a designer, because all that time that I invest in a collaboration, I could tell you that this person I will never work with again. This person, they can call me 24/7. I'll move a mountain for them. And also what I realize is that by doing a collaboration, when everybody chip in, not only time but effort, and also resource, because I may need maybe I'm working on a piece of glass. I'm blowing some glass, or I'm fusing some glass or whatever, and then I need a welder. Well, one of other glass blower. Oh, my buddy Steve knows a welder. Then Val arrived, and then we start working with Val. And then Val is an amazing welder, and he loves what we do. And then later he calls me up and he says, "Hey Bob, I'm working on this. Can you come?" So the the energy flows both ways, and that's what I like about this type of collaboration, and also some freelance, because the coordination can be very complex, but everybody, work. Now, methodology could be a challenge, because you have a bunch of ego in the same room, and sometimes they understand, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have different direction, so you have to deal with that. At my age, I don't really care. Like, I've seen it all, and when I work with younger generation, I love to see their energy. I love to see their their drive, and I will never stop them. I will just bring them back into the line for wherever we're going. Another way that I used to generate a lot of resource in my company was by creating. I really early when I start my company. Well, actually, when I was in New York, I was at school. I found out about an internship program from one of the big company, and I went in and I looked how it was going, and I loved the energy. I love that, if you come in, you work, you show your potential, you're gonna climb up the ladder. I love the culture, the culture building. You're working a few interns together. We're pushing, and there's some kind of a natural elimination process through internship, because if you don't like it after a week and after a couple of days, sometimes a couple hours, you're gonna go like, you know what, maybe not, you know, maybe not. That's not for me. And of course, this needs to be very structured, because when you work as an intern, you need to have some parameter. You need to have some stuff to do. You need to be also you have to have a program. And the way that I was taught is that I did for my company is I create this book um, of internship, and like the first couple weeks you work on the admin, then you work on communication, then you work a little bit also on how the finance work, because there's nothing worse than not understanding how your pay will where and how and where your pay is going to come from. So then we talk about the production meanwhile, and then we go into quality, Q&A, quality, question and answers, and quality control. Make sure that what you're doing is worthy. And then at the end, I would bring my interns to trade show for dissemination, because that would permit me to look at them in action and see if they knew what they were doing, and if they really want to do it. If I come and somebody says, "Well, me, this weekend I'm busy and I'm doing this," it's fine. You can be busy, but right now you have an opportunity to create a seat in at the table. And if your lifestyle is too important or more important than your career, it's fine. I want to know now, because if I hire you and in your resume you say, "Oh yeah, I'll," and when I call you, you say, "Well, sorry, I'm going skiing," or "I'm going," that doesn't work, and it creates antagonism, and it's not necessary. But as an internship program, and also I was very forward with the interns, and I would bring my interns to client meeting. I would bring them. I would have them. I would invite manufacturer to come and look, not look, but do lunch and learn and teach them. I would also look on how they communicate with the different manufacturers, and I would give them tasks. Okay, you need to call these 3 people, and this is the product that we want, and then to see their level of confront. But well, oh no, I cannot call. I don't know. Okay, then I would spend some time, teach them, and then if after a while they didn't want to do it, then that if anything happened, they're going to be the first one to jump off ship. So it becomes a very powerful tool to find your to find some new talent. About 3 months ago, I met my one of my friend, Mary, and she was representing CFO and fractional CFO, and I looked at that and I said, well, this is amazing. Uh, this is where I am right now, because like I said, I've been solicited a lot for a full-time job, and I don't have time to, because I have other projects. I'm writing books, and I got my son, but I still want to give back to the industry, and I didn't know where to position myself, because the last thing I want to do is go take a hat and not deliver, and this is not me. So as being fractional, now I can post myself as an executive, work with the executive, and then unload all their data and their strategy and everything, and then start to organize for them. So I don't need to be a full-time overhead, cost, and I can have an immediate impact. I can help come in and have impact, because I know how to handle all the food chain, and also unload the workload on the executive, because now they can focus on what they're supposed to do. So basically, I come in and I have the full-time capacity, and I give them the clarity, because I'm a fractional. And how could I say that? I'm not there to align. I'm not there to add more hands to the work. I'm not there to work on the projects. I'm there to align the direction. So the exec can be more productive, and the production team can be more productive. The communication can go faster. So having somebody that can look and product officer every one of those and make sure that they're singing all the same song. It's this is where I think I excel, and I've been good. And another reason why I start these podcasts is because people often they used to ask me, well, you know what, send me your resume. Well, a resume, what does it show? It's a software product, right? And I can tell you, I can list. I think I did last count. I'm about 11 or 1200 projects that I did over my lifetime, 4 decades in electrical, lighting, entertainment, motion pictures, and all of that is very nice, but it has nothing to do with your company. So that I come in and I have all these projects and all these things, it's useless for you. What you need right now is what you need, and you need somebody that's going to jump in. And you know, I don't need a title. I don't need to be you know the senior executive. Blah 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 blah. Blah. I don't need this. I'm just there to be the extension and help you to put orders so that you can run and expand your business first with what you have, and then look where we have holes and fill those holes, and have a direction so that when we are bringing new people on board, they know what to do. They know their post. They know, and they know the organization. They know where they belong, who they're working with, what's their deliverable, and how what's the process, because that's another thing. And this earlier, uh, your process is your process, and that's what makes you unique. It's funny. Yesterday I was talking with some clients, and they they look at my drawing. They said, "Oh my God, you do everything by hand." I said, "Yes, I can do things on AutoCAD. I can do things in 3D Max. I can do things and all those, but I still love the drawing, how to draw, and I still love how to render lights, and I still love how to create an impact. And also, what I love about doing it by hand is that the client understand that this is not the final version. While if I show them a, a render with whatever software, they think that this is going to be exactly like that. They don't see that it is a representation. They don't see that the color may change as we go along. They don't see that maybe as because, we cut the budget, we had to take fixtures that are less performing. We're not going to have this beautiful edge, in lighting. So all of that makes makes me realize that when people ask for my resume, what I decided to do, I decided to do this series, and so that way they can see the characters, how I think, how I make the decision, how I communicate. Of course, some of my lighting philosophy, because that's what I've been doing, right? And that it match or not, mine is way easier to adapt to theirs than anybody else, because I don't have an ego. I'm not there to make myself. I already had my prize. I already had my trophy. I already had all this, and right now this is not my goal in life, right? This is not it. So I just want to help to create a common language across all the different division and discipline. So now when we start hiring and decisions are made about, you know, most of the time on technical ability. And this is where it this is where I think most people fail, because you may have all the technical ability, but if you cannot align with the company philosophy or with the design project or with the different people in the team, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You may be the best renderer, you may be the best, the fastest, BIM technician, but if you can't communicate and you can't not talk, with other designers or suppliers, and that's it, right? And the other thing that I realize is that the reality of today is that most people, when you hire them, you look at their personal brand, you look at their portfolio and what's dominant, and then like what is it also that the the content of their presentation, what are they talking about, what's the depth, and you realize that there's not much of it because they on the ads, and I did that a few times. I took any ads, and I put it on ChatGPT, and I said, okay, um, write a resume with all my knowledge for that. And when I read the resume, I felt I ticked all the box, but it never went in depth. I never had anything deep, and this is where I realized that this is not the way to hire people, and we needed to do. There was a problem, like how it's very rare that on a resume you you, you may have um, an aesthetic view because they put their website, but that doesn't tell you what strategy they took to achieve that, and if they were in charge of that strategy, because that's another story. Being part of a team, member of a team, and leading a team and leading a project is totally two different things. The same thing with the visibility. Like, oh yeah, I'm there. I I give seminars. I deliver. I do projects. Are you capable? Oh, that's a different question, right? So visibility doesn't mean that they're capable of doing things. The capability. So as we come, and today it is very easy to be visible. Very, very easy. As an example, this broadcast is done with Restream, and in the same hours, I'm broadcasting on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I can add three, four others, and so forth. But it doesn't mean that the content is good. Doesn't mean that what I'm broadcasting, I'll be visible. If you make a research for Robert Lantain, you're going to see me everywhere. But it doesn't mean what I do is good or not. So again, that as we become more visible, doesn't mean that we are competent at it. And this is where I see most of the when you hire somebody, you don't see that, and when you start asking these questions, well, sometimes you get surprised, and it makes me laugh because I see myself, right. I remember having rush and signing contracts and being super excited, and then I had to hire people like reactively. I had to find me people, get me anybody that has a pulse, and you know, okay, good. And then I would build random team, and then I would chase deadline, and then oh, we'll fix the problem later. Well, guess what? You know, doesn't work. Doesn't work. I lost many jobs. I delivered a job that I was really not proud of because I didn't supply what I promised. I didn't deliver what I promised. And I could say, well, I could blame it on them, right? I could say, well, they didn't want to pay, they didn't give me enough time. Well, the design sucked. The architect is a nutcase. I mean, I could blame the whole world, but the truth was me. I was the problem. At the time, I didn't know, but with a few gray hair, you start to realize that, okay, you know, if I had a better design talent structure, I told you before, I had an internship program, but at some point I forgot to keep on feeding it. So my talent came in and they left because part of the internship, what I was doing is that I was also helping them to find the best solution. Maybe they didn't want to work for lighting design, so I would refer them to a lighting agency, or I would refer them to an electrician, or I would refer them to a rock and roll designer. So I and the idea was that I was creating this web of resource and talent that anytime I need somebody, I would pick the phone, I would call, I would get people. But after a while, because I didn't fed it, I didn't put some new talent in the pool, it got old. You know, people didn't want to take my call anymore. So so by not defining the role clearly, I burned my own people. Uh, Also, a few things like if I had aligned, you know, the projects and the philosophy and the design, I could have probably scaled faster. Uh, and basically, what I'm saying is that um, my leadership sucked. I was not a good leader because I couldn't expand my business to the level that it needed to be, and that uh, was also how could I say that? Today is easier to talk about it, but at that time it was rough. It was rough to admit it. It was rough to well to be in it because everything was going was going down. Even though I was having more project, the it was going down. So yeah. So imagine we have projects and we're growing, right? No structure, and that we're hiring people. We're hiring, we have agency, we have freelancer, we do some patchwork solution. We don't define any role. We don't have any internal process, and of course, you know, our in our hiring decisions are not the at the peak. How do we fix that? Well, first, I think the best way is to have a clear methodology. Say, okay, here's how our organization work. Here's the flow, and how can we organize that? And then also make sure that every one of these department and division has a clear communication framework, right? We know that this when you're done this process, you're going there. When you're done this, you go do this, that. So that way, anybody in the firm at this point can understand and be part of the motion more than watching the motion or not knowing there is a motion, right? So the other thing that I would say that it's important is to have an alignment with the lighting language. Um, if you follow my earlier podcast, and I will come back and I will give a series of introduction seminars, uh, and it just to have a common basic language. Clients, professionals, distributor, engineers, lighting designers, and on and on and on and on. I can there's 100 ways that the language can change, and what it all creates is just confusion. So if we say, well, this is what we this when we're talking about preliminary, this is the dialogue we're using. When we're talking about phase one, we're this is our dialogue. Phase two, phase three, and different, and as the phase are growing, the dialogue becomes more and more precise and detailed, so that we can understand each other. If we start with a very complicated dialogue at the beginning of the design process, it doesn't work. So, of course, there's some strategic oversight that I would suggest, and also have somebody like me, or another fractional lighting designer, senior, that could also give and look at the consistency of all your project, so that all across your project you have the same consistency, and that it align with the management, which is you. So that way you don't have to repeat, you don't have to blow a gasket, you don't have to do anything wrong, and later regret it. So it's a buffer. So basically, we don't scale by adding people. You scale by adding structure, and then people will fit into that structure, right? That's about the content of this lecture today. And tomorrow, um, tomorrow it's Friday, and Friday we're going to talk about trade show. There's some amazing trade show coming up very soon, and I'd like to help you to prepare for it and make sure that you optimize your time, and you also optimize the the, the amount, the maximum information you can gather during that trade show and other trade show too. So I'd love to share, what I did in trade show, and yeah, so that's tomorrow. So thank you very much for